I want to say hi. Want to wave your hand? You're officially on screen now. So, for those of you that don't know, that's Brady. Brady's a psychologist as well. He's a cohort buddy of mine, one of my best friends, and all around super intelligent dude. So, the next anime series that I'm getting started in apparently deals with artificial intelligence, and that's all I know. But I want your opinions just as a psychologist and as an individual. What do you think about AI in future tense for society?
Well, I mean, there's the obvious like science fiction likes to play with AI, but a lot of the science fiction exploration of AI is about like future AI. So like like sentient intelligence and that sort of thing. But AI in the sense of like what can we expect to grapple with in our lifetimes is probably going to be a much more understated but still present version of that. Like I don't think we're going to have I mean, I don't know, but I don't think we'll get to these like fucking Skynet levels of like super intelligence.
I
Like science fiction likes to play with AI well into its advanced. What do I think about AI in that stage, or what do I think about like AI that is on the cusp of what we have now?
Why don't we'll give both perspectives? I'll also give mine, but like, what do you think about like AI where we're at currently versus, I guess, future AI, like completed AI for that sense?
Well, right now AI is mostly used to harvest and calculate data, like social media data and that sort of thing, and that's creepy.
Yeah,
Um, but like I don't know, I like playing around with like those neural blender things where like you tell the AI you know, to come up with an image for two random things and then it tries to make one. That stuff's fun. That's like the smartest AI that general people have access to. So,
right. That's
but I my concerns about like near future AI are more about like things like deep fakes and voice recreation for things like I don't know, dead actors. Like they'll be able to bring anyone back from the dead and put them in a movie, and like I mean, not even in a movie. Like they can just create an AI persona that has can replicate the image and voice and whatever of whoever they want. Use like deepfake is an AI rendering technology. Like that's some of the weird shit that like is current
right.
AI stuff.
Like what I think is like right now, and when it comes to anime, any sort of medium, a lot of people don't really like. They always go to the extremes to like the very end when like AI is evil and all this shit's falling down already. But like they're like, oh yeah, that'll happen in like hundreds and hundreds of years, and it's like y'all don't really understand that in this current day and age that we're living in, and a lot of you guys can like fact check me on this. Like there are universities out there that are actually studying the human brain and trying to like recreate consciousness in terms of mapping out individuals' human brains and trying to upload them data, into data that is actually out there. I think it was like the University of Colorado or the University of Connecticut. I forget which one is specifically focusing on trying to recreate the connectomes. Now, is it 100% there? Hell no. But is it laying the groundwork for like future research, and especially for like the design of what's to come? Like 100 years down the line, if they like really put money and effort into it, will it be a way of like society to continue going forward? I think so. I think there might be a big push for AI in terms of like we're now having virtual reality therapy sessions. We're now aiming towards, yeah, you could do VR chat and therapy sessions. Quite
Yeah,
fun.
what I was going to say is like, yeah, I think VR therapy is a natural progression, but I do not expect anytime soon like AI replacing
Uh,
psychologists.
until there's my big thing is like there won't be a replacement of psychologist until there's a way that AI can truly learn empathizing like techniques, right?
Well, but that's what I mean. Like that stuff is so we're
Far
nowhere
down the
near that that sort of stuff right now. Like
Right.
in the future, perhaps, but it's nowhere near like you and I don't have to fear for our jobs,
Yeah,
basically.
we're pretty much set.
But someone who works in like data analytics, someone who works in the tech industry, yeah, like their jobs are probably more in jeopardy of just not being as viable when you can task an AI with it. I mean, they're great at like I don't know, understanding many data points and that sort of thing, but
Right.
they're not going to be able to like communicate naturally with a person to the level where you could do therapy. I mean, like, this as well as I do, that lots of human therapists don't know
Fail.
how to
Yeah.
do it properly yet.
But I think that's the point, though, is like, at least right now, the only thing that's possible is like laying the foundation for what's to come. But
Sure.
I think later on down the future, if you emphasize on the empathy nature, or for example, at what point does an AI stop becoming just a robot? At what point do you grant them humanity or sentience in that regard, right? So there's a lot that I feel like the future's gonna have to struggle with that we don't. We can wash our hands right now and be like, yeah, that's out of our lifetime. But like down the road, like there's a lot of big themes that people are gonna have to tackle, and especially, and I think this is the greatest thing of all, is humanity's fear of always being overpowered.
Yeah, I mean, like, obviously, okay, like science fiction. What is science fiction at its core? Science fiction is about exploring, like either current, past, or future fears, and like AI is one of those fears. That's why people write stories about AI. You know, this idea of like it being smarter, it can be smarter than people and won't have any use for us, et cetera, et cetera. But I think of like it's hard for me to relate to that because in I'm not in the military, I'm not in the tech world. I only think about my two like passions, which are psychology and like writing fiction. And an AI is not near the point where it can be a psychologist or a fiction writer. And trust me, I've read books written by AI, and they are like nonsense at the moment. Um,
Will they
you
improve?
know,
I'm
they
sure.
they will improve, but like stories are interesting because they're written from the experience of humans and all of our like continuous human experience. So like an AI writing a story, I don't know, it's not going to be able to connect the same way. Like it
Right.
could be funny and it could be interesting. I don't know about this Batman book, um, but it's not going to be able to produce like I don't know fiction that you can connect with on a human empathetic level. It right now it doesn't have an awareness of what it's putting out. It's just like an algorithm
That's
jumbling up words
Yep.
that can string coherent sentences together, but there's not going to be any heart behind it.
And that's what I was going to touch on. It's basing itself off of different data points that I can jump off of, and like trying to construct words and whatnot. Batman looks around for his parents, but they're still dead. This makes him have anger. I mean,
Yeah, like
it,
that's like it can draw that sort of conclusion, but it is not at the level yet where it can like
it's
I don't
better
know
than a
give me
lot of.
empathy.
I'm like, it's better than a lot of high school theater scripts if I'm gonna say that. But anyway, with that being said, I do have to step out for like 5 minutes. So Brady, I'll let you go because I know it's a light night for you, and from here on out, I'm probably gonna get into the anime version of the stream here. So have a good night, Brady. Stay safe, and I will. I'll be talking to you later.
Yeah, I'll catch you later.
Catch you later, man. Stay safe. Bye bye. All right, guys, for those of you that are still here, let me get off of the chat with Brady real quick. For those of you guys that are still here, give me like 5 minutes and I will be right back and we'll go ahead and get started with Vivi, episode 1. Well, if it's good, all right, why don't we just go ahead and just jump into it? You guys have me excited. You guys ready? Let me make sure we're on the right screen. Oh, Maybe not that one. Maybe this one. For copyright reasons, we have to go down here. Could you guys imagine if we did it like this? I mean, that would be amazing, but I feel as though like we'd instantly get copyrighted. Like, that's not even worth the try there. All right, let's go back to the original one. All right, you guys ready? Let's go ahead and just jump into it. Oh, this is pretty good. Oh no. Ooh. What the fuck? It's such a wholesome show. It's such a nice show. Yeah, I keep forgetting that it's still made by Tappei, right? Damn. What the fuck, guys? Happy music does not mean happy show. Oh, these are so real. That reminds me a lot of ReZero, though. Just someone like trying to be happy and the world burning on around. Yeah, that was pretty good. Dollar store. So yeah, there's a lot to dissect even in that, right? If that, yeah, exactly. If that doesn't scream Tappei, I don't know what does, right? But one of the big things that I wanted to point out is like, at what point, and this is something that I was bringing up in my conversation with Brady, at what point does artificial intelligence, you have to like start arguing for the, I guess, like human element towards artificial intelligence, in which like you actually give them not just necessarily rights, but the ability to go ahead and like empathize and have like certain emotions, because making that step from being a robot that like can process data, emotions and whatnot, to being a robot that is actually empathizing and having these like individual thoughts by themselves, right, that is not part of a collective, is already a huge step. Now corrupting that data, that's a separate topic that we'll go ahead and get into, but let's process this even into a scarier situation, right? As I mentioned before, right, one of the big universities is actually making big strides into what is connectomes, right? So what are neurological links inside of your brain that make you who you are, right? So if we can go ahead and grab all of these neurons, all these links, all these links that are created based on the decisions that you make, emotional decisions, logical decisions, you know, social situations that maybe you're pressured into making certain decisions and whatnot. So like all of these form different neural paths, and different neurons are fired at different events that happen throughout your lifetime and whatnot, right? So what if someone's actually able to go ahead and like digitize all this information, grab it, put it in a computer, right, and run thousands of simulations, put them even say in a robot, right? If you woke up in that robot, like, or even if you woke up one day, how would you know that you're you and not the robot? And that's in just a general situation like that. Are you human? And how would you test if you're human or not? Especially if you're implemented with pain receptors, with, you know, blood, with the shutdown features, with all of that. Same thing as a human. You know, how would you know? And vice versa. It is such a interesting scenario to think about, especially for future optics, as to what it means for artificial intelligence to belong in a society in which we as humans try to keep ourselves as the top prey. And what happens when we create something with our own intelligence that surpasses us and we're no longer that top of the line, even for just a second. What does that mean? Is that fear? Does that like cause a lot of like hate and prejudice and whatnot, and allow that thing to roll? I don't know. You guys tell me. Those are a lot of major themes, and I'm sorry I'm throwing all of this at you guys, but one of the big areas that I was focusing in, especially for my doctoral thesis, following up down the line, was specifically into artificial intelligence and psychology. So this is like an area that I'm just really, really into as well. Something else, I guess, that I can bring up is sort of the fear of the extinction level event through artificial intelligence, which is sort of what it's showing, right? So, what is a causality that would cause artificial intelligence to go ahead and lead itself to like deform or devalue human beings as the only way to, for example, if your prime directive is to keep humans safe, what would devalue the operations of an artificial intelligence to go ahead and be like, all right, the only way I can keep, for example, humans safe is by eradicating all humans, is by doing a Thanos snap and trying to get rid of all of them, right? So there's a lot of like missing links. Push button apocalypse is fun, but like it's not just that. It's like it's say that you're a sentient. And yes, I know I'm going like a million miles a minute, right? If you're going through this right at a super like fast speed, right? Say that you're in the year 2100 and you're an artificial intelligence that has your brain at this point in time. You lived 100 years and you managed to see all the atrocities that humankind has created. And your prime directive is to save humans or human intelligence or something human. Would you allow humanity to keep on going? Knowing the atrocities, knowing everything that comes through because of human actions? Or would you label the intelligence that humanity has pushed onto artificial intelligence as its final gift? So there's that big push there as well. And I'm pretty sure there would be huge political movements, just like as there is now. If you guys don't know what that is, there are huge movements in political nature, which people are often like shutting down anything to do with artificial intelligence because we as humans are scared of what progression for the human race could mean. And it also leads to the theory, and this is a wild ass theory, that like, if we're thinking about adopting and like scanning human consciousness, a brain into machines, because realistically the future of time travel is not going to be possible throughout like like I don't know how to put it. It's not going to be possible in just a simple like A to B transport mode. It'll be more than likely like transferring our consciousness into what is a machine onto like other machines, robots, whatever. Maybe even run thousands of simulations along the way from point A to point B. Point being is, how do you not know that you are already a part of that simulation? And without using Voltaire, without using the I think therefore I am, it is quite difficult to go ahead and discern that. And it is quite a scary thing to imagine that, if you've ever thought like, oh, well, others in my life are NPCs, without going into that rationale like, oh, well, everyone else is beneath me, but just like, everyone else has their own stuff going. Sometimes there's loading screens in my life or whatever it may be, right? It would be pretty hard to go ahead and discern whether or not a simulation is being based off of your consciousness already. And sorry that got like 4 layers deep, but now thinking through an AI's perspective, and this is what like we do in like the psychology of artificial intelligence, right? If you wanted to go ahead and get rid of humanity, how would you do it? There's the Detroit Become Human way. Sleeping is also a loading screen. You can even call it updates, right? Which is going to sound crazy, but when you sleep, your brain actually starts to recover, not just from trauma or from any events that happen throughout the day, but it allows your brain to learn from those and in the future not make the same mistake. So it really is like a patch or an update when you sleep. Wild that is being implemented. I've been postponing my updates. Well, 3D Void, you should probably get some sleep. But like, if I was, and then this is like a good topic, and Brady's heard me like go on and on about like artificial intelligence and everything, right? How would I get rid of the human race? A lot of people, right? Like, as I was saying, like there's a Detroit Become Human way, right? Which is like they start like going against humans slowly but surely. There's some defects, so on and so forth. But the scarier way, and it's not the Skynet way, it is quite literally, there's so much, like, if these artificial intelligence are able to link up with computers, with anything at its disposal, there's so much space debris out in the world that if you can like perfectly correlate satellites, space stations, whatever else the future may hold out there to come down to Earth, like even if it's like triggered throughout like time, like doesn't have to be all at once, but literally like if there's one defect that allows them to go ahead and like take control of like a satellite and just bring it to Earth just one time without any casualties, without anything, just testing your power. There's one. But then allowing a perfect trajectory where all the space junk that we've thrown out there to come down together, you can cause some massive devastation. And yeah, there's just a lot that goes into AI, into like the possibilities of what AI can do to harm, and now the opposite side, help humanity. Because if we were able to go ahead and that was my argument, like against, right? I mean, they could, right? A smart AI would be able to go ahead and do a lot of that, but I think a smart AI would also realize that, like, to implement such a thing would take like years, because acting out of line, even for one little bit, would trigger probably a lot of sensors. I think a smart AI would do it in a way that, like, it's too calculated, and they're able to go ahead and like knock it all out in one stride, even if it means getting caught, even if it means like people realizing that it is the end, because it's better to get it all done and over with than play the long game in the scenario and have like maybe an update that catches that you're defective, or an update that's able to go ahead and patch some of the certain things, you know? But anyway, am I? Am I an evil AI yet, Trace? Huh? Don't worry, that's just my music box. Don't mean to scare you. But what I will say is this, guys. The arguments for the arguments for artificial intelligence are huge and beneficial, such as even like scanning your brain and being able to run trillions of simulation tests to like surgeries, medical appointments, medicine, so on and so forth. Like, you're actually able to go ahead and like center and create a good care plan and good therapists or whatever you may need in the future. It's kind of cool. But anyway, sorry guys, that was a really long rant for like 2 minutes and 23 seconds. Excuse? Oh. Okay, you have my interest, Joe. Please blow me away. I have my thoughts. Is this literally like booting her up? Oh, damn. All right. Aw.
ご清聴ありがとうございました。
なんか思ってた歌と違うね。
ねえ、帰ろっか。さい。っていうかポーズどうこうじゃない。逆の反応を見ればわかるでしょうが。そんなこと言わないの、ナビ。ポーズはともかく歌は良かったよ。ありがとうございます。
So is Execution Place G476 on place, like, these are specific scenarios that like we're running through, correct? And if that's the case, like, my question is like, are we going back in time? Are we looking back in time, or are we just altering memories, or looking at their memories and altering memories? Also, if it's a simulation, right? Would this be simulation G476 on specific scene G328, which let's just call it like groundskeeping or ground arena, like G328, so the 328th time that she's been there? There's so much I want to ask about that specific thing. And of course, like the execution time, meaning like, something's going to happen in that specific time period that's there, which is amazing in of itself, right? But I'm just wondering what exactly it means that like it's running through like all these execution places or the simulations that are being run, and why we're so high, if it means anything. She eats air?
そうですね。今の私は近づくこともできないんですよ。
Oh. Oh.
その絵本も見飽きました。
Oh.
言ってください。お父様との約束の時間があるでしょう。わかったわよ。あ、そうだ。
Why do a lot of their Tappy's characters for females always are like, or I guess main characters are similar in that regard, where it's like the innocence at the very beginning is always introduced in that way, where like, you know, it's too innocent for the world at large. Like, you know, there's always someone else like trying to introduce or trying to guide that innocence that is there. It's with Emilia, you know, you get the same thing where, you know, her innocence was always there, and you also had Roswell and some of the others trying to go ahead and like guide her. So I'm wondering if this is sort of the same thing where you have different people trying to guide this innocent Vivi, which is a parent, in the way that like she's trying to become more human-like, you know, and whether or not that's good or bad, because sometimes you also need like the outside character, which sort of reveals that like the world isn't as it seems. And there's 1,001 things that you can go ahead and do. Bro, don't make promises in these shows. No, don't make. I've learned from ReZero, don't make any kind of promises. No. Also, why do I not trust Navi? In general. Because you watch ReZero, yeah. That's a fallacy in of itself. If you're given directives, right, to go ahead and protect a child from getting hurt, and like the argument is that like you are only doing that because it's what you're ordered to, within that order that you're given, right, which is like take child or defend child or protect child, right, how you do it is also granting a lot of freedom and individuality to form. So I wonder if in these choices, right, so like point A and point B, I was pointing at like my desk, like you guys could see my fingers and what I was doing. If between these choices, like point A to point B, all this individuality, this null zone, right, which is what a lot of people will call it, like is sort of what starts forming an AI to differ from just being a robot. Right, because the way that he's framing it out to be is you only have one directive, one mission, get your mission done. You're only following protocols. But inside of that protocol, you also start showing a lot of yourself, i.e. a person that decided to go ahead and help a child and follow the standard protocol would have probably not latched on, or would have probably have sent the child repeatedly over and over, you know, if this kept coming in to like the lost child or whatever center, right? But being able to form that attachment, being able to actually mimic, have aspirations, have goals, try and become better, so on and so forth, it's like you're constantly showing this big personality shift. So I wonder what that's like in a duality like this, where someone's so innocent that they don't see that they're actually kind of straying from that. And Vivi, which seems it's a computer next to her, right? It's that thing that's right next to her, right? The big block, the big monitors there, not monitors, but like the motherboards there. This thing not being able to, I guess, actually move, seeing someone express their individuality in that way and trying to guide them to stay within the directive, what does that mean for them as well? Like, and granted, you're like, oh, but they're robots. They don't have the ability to like think that far ahead. And this is where I'd say you're wrong. Because individuals, if you make artificial intelligence and you give them the ability to process information, you're garnering them the ability to think outside of just the A-B rotation and start thinking more about what it means to do these certain things, right? Not necessarily feel. You can even argue that like feeling certain things will probably come at a later point, because you have to develop this process of who you are, what you are, when you are, why, right? So on and so forth. All frame and situation matched up. Hello? Oh shit. Alright. Okay. Damn, way to send all the information into one particular place. So this has to be a simulation, right? It's not like the information was sent into a parallel universe. It was more likely sent back in time into a simulation that was being run to that particular area. Otherwise, things wouldn't, like, we wouldn't have been shown this, right? Like, i.e., we would have already had the good ending. No offense, right? So, like, if it was a parallel universe, like, you know, essentially, if it's a simulation that's being run into specific orders to try and get someone to activate, it makes a lot more sense than being able to send it into a loop, a closed loophole, like universal theory, right? The reason why I'm saying that is, like, depends on the nature of time travel, right? Because if it's a closed loop, like time loop, then at the end of the day, anything you do in the past wouldn't affect anything you do in the present. So there would be no need for someone to send anything back because everything would already be solved, right? It would be like the central timeline, if you're following like Marvel MCU or anything like that, right? But if it's more like we're going to try and tamper with this individual's memories, simulations, whatnot, like, you know, run simulations in her or in them and like start putting in our own information to try and get them prepared for whatever's happening now, like, you have time to build that up. Is it fucked up? Yeah, because then you can get into, like, you know, would you do that to a normal person? You know, but what is the ethics behind it, so on and so forth. And, you know, if there was a person that was, for example, frozen in like ice and they had a key for the future, right? Would you purposefully mess with their memories in order to get that key for the future? Or would you allow humanity's destruction to continue because of their own hands? So, big ethics. Oh, this is like your subconscious? It reminds me of Echidna, but okay.
アーカイブ原因と復旧までの時間
ふぅ、まったく死ぬかと思いました。重たいですね、この時代の帯域は。はい、はじめまして、型番 A035624 長いですね。03でいいですか？それとも相性である D バと。へえ、こうなってるんですか、あなたのアーカイブのテクスチャー。
This robot. Yes.
アーカイブ聞こえますか？ウイルスが入り込んでいます。
あはは、予測演算通りの反応ですね。そして次に続けるアーカイブウイルスが通じていないのはあなたの回をそう設定させていただいたからで。ああ、ボディは大丈夫ですよ。
All I'm waiting for this guy is to go this for any word.
僕は型番で答えるのがちょっと。
おはよ
おはようございます。
All right, this is an unrealistic. Nope, unrealistic future. You're telling me that we have the power to create limbs and artificial eyes and all of this, but yet we still can't get rid of glasses? Come on, guys. Come on. But we can create a whole new life form and put artificial intelligence in them, but we still can't. Come on.
自己認識だとどうかな。
How will we know he is smart then? Not everyone needs glasses to know they're smart. Damn.
失礼な。僕以上に完璧なプログラムはいませんよ。
What if it was just a drip? Like, straight up, he's wearing them, but he doesn't need to wear them. It's all just drip.
そうなってます。
出て行ってください。
Yo, but like, I'm pretty sure being an AI and whatnot, you have to go through like upgrades or whatnot. can't you ask this like future AI to be like, yo, why don't you go ahead and like, you know, like give me that boost up, get me up to like firmware like 31.1 or whatever your firmware you're on, you know? Like if you're truly from the future and you have the capability to do something like that, like make me like get me into the prime form that you need me at. Maybe health coverage, you know what? That is a distinct possibility, but then you'd have to assume, right? Making AIs at this point in time, that's old. You got to get 54.6. Yeah, I mean, whatever. But at this point in time, right? You have to think like, oh, is it easier to go ahead and make a full AI than it is to go ahead and make like fix eye surgery? And granted, it is getting significantly cheaper because I'm actually thinking about getting them in the future. But like, you know, like, oh, she just wants to sing. Yeah, I know. But if that was the case, you would still ask for, if your directive, if she was truly just a machine that is only following her prime directive, then she would ask for the thing that would make her sing, right? Sing better, sing the best. What year was that? What time was that? If you were going to go ahead and like shit test an AI or a virus or something. What the fuck?
霧島桃花城ですね。大丈夫です。元の機能より僕が入ったことでバージョンアップしてますよ。
Excuse me? Yo, way to hit on something that I've been talking about, like upgrading your shit.
ひらひらはいひらひら
Aww.
ニーアランドへようこそ。
Here's a conversation some of y'all may not be ready to have, but here's a conversation I'm going to bring up. If we're going down this, and it's just, I know it's probably going to be one or two of you guys where like, it's like, oh, my predictions are 110% off, or like, you know, or they're like scary accurate or whatever, right? But just, you know, we've been following a line of thinking. I've introduced Brady in the beginning, so you guys know that this is sort of like, you know, it's a big topic, big field in psychology that people are arguing and counter-arguing, and it's been going on for quite a while. But, and here's my big point of this. Here's, I guess, and something we'll explore going down. Can AI fall in love and experience, aside from just emotions, can they experience such things as, you know, feeling horny, feeling sad, feeling, you know, not the main emotions of just sadness, but like feeling jealous, feeling so on and so forth. Like you have all these different things. And, you know, if that is the case, you know, at that point, you'd really have to come up with a strong argument against why they're like, you can't grant them similar responses to humans, right? Or similar, I guess, ways to treat them. Another dude with glasses. Damn. Look at that drip. Oh, I feel you there. Oh. I once had to perform in a theater that was completely empty. I feel you. I got you, girl.
信じてくれました。
あなたの言うことは信じません。
僕にも使命がある。僕の使命はあなたと共に計画に従事することです。
Professor Sawyer, and here that's the main point is like, and the, sort of the main point I'm arguing, like the show is kind of touching on here is like, even without emotions, if someone is able to make calculations, i.e., if someone took your brain scan right now of who you are, threw it into a machine, put it in a robot, and like suppressed emotions 90%, right? Or even 99%, but you're still making decisions and it's still thinking and filling out that gray zone. Is that still an AI? Like an AI? Not necessarily. Again, you know, it's the concept of like what it means for emotions to be present, right? I.e., there are people, like, there are human beings, right? And there's this like natural design theory that a lot of people try to throw out, like, oh, we all feel this way. Not everyone actually goes through certain emotions. Some people don't like, you know, for example, some people are really into doing it. Other people are not. Some people are really horny. Some people are not. you know? Not necessarily. It's sociopaths are more like manipulation of emotions as opposed to suppression of emotions. And that's sort of like what it's thinking, you know, just because you're, for example, just because you're asexual or just because you're whatever, it doesn't make you less human at all, right? Even though some people might try and argue that, oh, well, you're not experiencing humanity to the fullest. Hell no. Fuck that type of mentality, right? You experience life however you want to experience it, but the decisions that you make in between, right? The struggles that happen in between, in sexual attraction, and that's the point. It's like because you can be asexual but still feel attracted to people. You can be aromantic and be hypersexual, which means you're not really into the romantic aspects of finding relationships, but you're super into just sexuality, so on and so forth. My point being is like the decisions in between that I pointed out between like an AI making a decision between point A and point B, right? Or even us as humans, if we wake up and we decide to go shower, how we get out of bed, how we get our clothes, how we get ready, all of that is sort of what defines our humanity. So same thing with an AI. Even right there, the way that she's turning, the way that she's grabbing her dress, the way that she's deciding to address certain things or even try and catch him, that defines her, I guess, artificial intelligence or artificial humanity in that. So it's a very, very, very big topic, So I hope you guys are like picking up a little bit, like even if it's like randomly spread out throughout the entire thing, like little bits of how we would be able to think.
これから言う出来事がその通りになったら僕に従ってください。そろそろですから。見えますね。11時03分09秒。この方が骨折及び火傷を。
And it's not just human traits, it's also like, and that's a good point, 3D Void, this is why I stop it. It's also religious traits and social cultural traits that we try to put on them. I.e., like, for example, if an AI was made close to where I live, it would probably be imposed with a lot of like Catholicism traits because that's the area where I live. Not me necessarily because I'm not religious and I'm not going to push any type of thing, and so on and so forth. Like they would have these predisposed impositions onto artificial intelligence. And same thing with humans. We put a lot of pressure onto you guys, like if I'm an AI, we put a lot of pressure onto just humans in general to act and do and speak a certain way. And if you're out of that norm, you start getting judged and you start getting pressured and, it is very hard, very hard. And that's why like humanization or empathization, rather well said, of other, and as AI, case solved, I wish. The empathization or being able to empathize with other creatures, humans, whatever it may be, is so important in this world. And not just like projecting your own like belief systems or whatever to try and empathize with someone, but literally just being there with an individual, with a creature, with a being that is next to you could change the entire world. Professor Shore, are you sure you're not an AI?
ゴミ箱が見えますね。爆発騒ぎになりますよ。さてどうします？まあもしかしたらあなたの言う通り何も起きないかもしれませんけどね。でもどうにかするならあなたの走行速度から考えてもギリギリですよ。
Oh shit.
ほら、10、9、8、7。
そうです。だから AI の発展には AI 命名法が必要不可欠。
Okay, calculating shortest route, let's go. Why does that feel like a Mega Man video game? Or like the PlayStation when she's running like that. Let's go. Vivid for the save. Ooh. Oh, there's still over here like James Bonding us. Ooh.
メインステージ機能異常ありません。不審物もなしです。
了解。
Why did this just give me a theory on ReZero? Ew. Sorry, don't mean to mix up both. But ill. My brain automatically was like, wait a second. Okay. If this is one of those moments where Tappy decides to somehow, like in this story, yeah, exactly, run sort of the simulation by sending information back in time to try and like, I don't know how to put it, like try and correct the future. I have absolutely no doubt that he'll try something like that in ReZero, where the end is the beginning and the beginning is the end type of thing. You know? Where, like, it sounds... That would... Alright, I'm just gonna shut the fuck up and keep going.
計画をシンギュラリティ計画と僕を生み出した博士は名付けました。
Okay, so if I'm reading Tappy right in any way, shape, or form as a psychologist that's seen ReZero, I'm making a big prediction here, but the way that he introduces characters tends to be very poetic in that way, and that like the first way that you see them, like you'll also see them doing almost the exact same action near the end, but just changed a little. So I wonder if, you know, for her, we saw her singing to like nobody essentially. If the ending of the entire thing will be her singing to nobody or probably everyone, and then some change in the end. So then that makes me wonder, same thing with Subaru, right? We saw him like literally, I guess, dying for Emilia, right? Trying to change things, and if that's probably where it's going to head to as well, if he continues, or if he saves her, giving up his life, or vice versa. So, big changes. He likes to write in circles like that. That's what I'm picking up. Some very big things here for just his writing style, I guess.
いつですか？
はい。
相川議員はいつ殺されてしまうんですか？
今夜です。
Bro, then why did you let him go? Jeebus.
割るわけにはいかない。ああ、大丈夫だ。ここはメンテナンスの時以外は常に無人だ。めったなことでは誰も。
Oh, red flag. I guess black flag of death, right?
トワク、どうしてここが。
Hey, Mr. Stabby. Oh, shit. Okay. What a big, just overall topic to handle. And I think as a writer, it is such a, like, in the field of AI or whatnot, it is always such a, like, intricate little thing to talk about, to try and go ahead and, like, bring up in a social setting, you know? Like, what is artificial intelligence and what is humanity in that sense? And bringing up all the topics that we talked about tonight in that regard. And it's actually very, very interesting in the fact that, like, how he's introducing the characters, how you can actually start to see similarities between, like, this show and the way that he's writing for ReZero, the way that like certain junctions follow, because every author is different, and the way that we create stories is very different. Although sometimes, oh, hey, how you doing, man? Sometimes, like when we start paying attention to the way that like we structure formats or the way that like we create, like if I create 2 stories, you might find some similarities in the way that I write, and you might be able to start piecing things together, which is why I've had a couple big revelation moments from watching this show as to what may be happening in ReZero later on down the line, which is wild to think about. But with that being said, I hope you guys enjoyed the night. I hope you guys enjoyed the time. I'm not going to go ahead and continue because my voice is... Yeah, but I mean, he's sort of like the main person, right, for this show. But anyway, yeah, I'm not going to continue because I do need to get some rest, especially for my voice and my energy. I'm still on COVID recovery. I still feel fatigued. That's why I haven't been uploading as much, just because pretty much any action I do just completely drains me. But I appreciate you guys being here. Please take some rest, practice some self-care, do whatever you need to do. I'll try and do another stream either sometime next week, so that way we can go ahead and knock episode 2 out of the way. But anyway, stay safe. Practice some self-care, guys. Bye. I love you guys.